So I'll call this July Executive Finance Committee meeting to order at 10:02. I will verify that open meeting law requirements have been met. You have an 11-item agenda in front of you.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay, we have motion to approve. And we have a second. Any changes, anything you'd like to discuss? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, and also with our packet, we got a copy of the minutes of the previous meetings. Let's see, was there one or was there two? Just one for this one, okay.
Move to approve.
Gave motion to approve,
Second.
and we have a second. Did anybody find anything that they would like changed in this? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the June minutes of the Executive Finance Committee, please signify aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, so those are approved. Okay, we'll then move to the public comment period. If anybody from the public is watching, either online or over TV, you can make a call now. The number is 715-538-1770. We'll give them a couple of minutes if somebody wants to make a call, and then we'll move on.
You gotta let him stopwatch.
Oh, you got a stopwatch. George he called me last night, said he's not going to be here. He has they're starting some new big job in La Crosse, and he had to be there today, so.
Uh-huh.
Did anybody hear anything from Rick? Or not Rick, not Rick, I'm not, who's the other guy? From Kurt. Kurt Bremer? Anybody hear anything from?
No, I haven't heard anything.
No, they're not coming to this committee anymore.
Oh, they're not.
Just going to
Your
property
Property, and then
board.
if they were requested, then they would come, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good then.
So they're property committee and county board.
County Board, okay.
Yep.
Jesus, 2 minutes was a long time.
And Rick, I must have my wires crossed. This one
We're going 2 minutes.
is exactly.
Oh, yeah. Closer.
Getting close?
It's not on today's agenda. So so it's okay to, I'll hand this out. And we can talk about it for next time.
Okay.
Okay, if someone still needs to call, please do so. We have the phone here, so we'll take your comments or questions if you have any, even though this public comment period has ended. Okay, anything from Samuel's Group or Venture?
It's not on your agenda.
Oh, I'm on the wrong property. Okay, let's do this one. Okay, county sales update then.
Oh, another surprise.
Do they never cease to amaze us? Our collection for June was $255,543.85 compared to $164 last year, $169 the year before. So we're at $817,744.56 compared to last year at $633. I mean, we're way over, and I'm supposed to be finding lost revenue, and I can't find it when we're getting more than, big numbers like this.
What
2 months
month?
in a row of over 200,000.
You got it in June, but what month is that?
That would
actually?
be for June, May, February. No, April.
April.
April
2 months back.
collections, May paying the state, June us getting it. Yep,
Okay.
April.
That's always good to hear.
Don't keep it coming.
Right.
Okay, any questions for Paul? Okay, thank you. And then general fund?
The two things that happened at the June County Board, or the food pantry and the technology security consulting, got added in, so we're at a balance of $1,857,707.50.
So again, that's pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Any questions about the general fund? Okay, hearing on, we'll move on then. Department reports request. Steve?
Morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, I guess the big news is I'm back in the office full-time, Monday through Friday. So I was working from home 3 days a week, but it seemed like the virus took a turn to where we could do that again. I was more worried about bringing veterans in who are, at higher susceptibility to the virus, but I think now that vaccinations have gotten to where they're at, I'm in full-time. Dawn's actually been in. She's transitioning her way back in full-time too. So we'll see how that goes, one day at a time.
Any comments from the veterans or any feedback from the veterans, I should say? You're more often, or their apprehension about coming in, or is there any apprehension, or?
No, they're all just happy that we're all back in the office
I would think,
full-time.
I appreciate face-to-face contact,
Same here.
so, I'm one of that generation.
I am
So,
too. Yeah.
I don't text, so.
A lot of the issues we discuss and the things we do for veterans needs to be in person. It's just so much easier to do. Emails just don't go across the right way with certain things like that. So we're back to that. I think in the email before I said something about a cell phone was in my plans. I got that going. It's already showed up. It's already here. So that'll allow me to hotspot to my laptop when I'm out and about visiting veterans at outreach events or at their houses and they don't have Wi-Fi, and then I can file claims, process paperwork for them while I'm there with them. And that'll make things a lot easier. Less things to print, less things to carry, that kind of thing. And I can keep up on my emails and whatnot while I'm out and about. Let's see. There's been a lot of discussion lately and inquiries about the TOMA van that we get from the VA. In the past, it was running it was even days of the week. So the veterans would all get picked up in this van and go in big groups. COVID kind of screwed that up. They only would let 2 people at a time in the van, which defeats the purpose of the van. So they took all the vans back, this is VA I'm talking about, and kept it for a while till they said, well, we're going to do this, but with COVID restrictions, meaning cleaning and these safety books and guides that had to go with it. And now they're saying the drivers are going to have to be CPR qualified and go through training to be COVID exterminators, who knows what they want to call it these days, They have to clean the vans a certain way. They have to wear the full-on suit and spray everything. And we only have 2 drivers right now. People don't want to deal with the hassle, is what it seems to be, because it's a volunteer program. So they're not reimbursed in any way. It's their own free time and free will, which we greatly appreciate. But they don't want to deal with the hassle. I don't blame them. And then can't guarantee everybody can pass the CPR class either, And I'm not going to force anybody to if they don't want to. Right now, we don't know if we're getting the van back. I was talking to John about this the other day. We're reaching out to the VA to see what their plans are. They may keep it. They may not. We're going to tell them the vets really want it back. It's been voiced by several organizations that they value the van, so we're going to try and get it back. It may, though, cross over to where they have to call VA, a certain person at VA TOMA, to schedule their appointments. And we would be cut out of the mix, essentially, is what it would be. We would really wouldn't have a whole lot to do with it other than kind of corralling the van at Family Circle and Strum and making sure nobody steals it, and making sure the drivers are all set the way they're supposed to be, but everything would be coordinated through VA. We would just kind of be not even a facilitator anymore. We would just kind of be a byproduct, but we'll help in any way we can, of course. So that's not set in stone. That's still being talked about. We're still waiting on more information for that. And that's probably the hottest topic we have going on right now, because that's a big deal. That's probably one of our biggest programs is medical transportation. And especially with the aging population, that's an important topic to keep on top of. Any questions about the transportation? I'll have more information soon. We're still waiting to hear back. I just got back from spring conference. That was very valuable. We had a lot of guest speakers from the state, from WDVA, and from other organizations at the state level, a few at the national level, so I got to learn a lot. Got to network with a lot of folks that's already come into play with some of my claims that have gone through lately that benefited the veterans, so that's always valuable to go to. Fall conference is in October in Fond du Lac County. I'm looking forward to that. It's at a place called Hotel Retlaw, I think is the name of it. I've never been. And then I also have an online training with National Association of CVSOs as well in July. So that's even more training. And VFW accreditation went through, so I'm now accredited with VFW and WDVA. More to come as the organizations reopen. Right now I've got a couple in limbo because they're not open. So other than that, I'm open for questions, and I don't have a whole lot more to give you guys.
Come back to your phone. You don't have it in your funds to get a phone?
Previously, it was not, but I can afford it this year, and I'll add it to my budget for next year when I present 2022's budget.
I think it's a good idea anyway.
It comes out to $45 a month, I think.
Yeah.
Because I was running into issue with my cell phone's an out-of-state number, so people wouldn't answer it. And if I'm out and about calling a veteran, they see an Idaho area code and they're like, well, somebody's trying to scam me. I don't want to answer it, you know. And I don't mind using my phone, but the phone number thing's the big issue. And then I can get the internet on the laptop, so that way I can do a lot more. Just makes the office more mobile too. I did leave off. I'll be at Ashley at the Arts next to the American Legion. We'll have a table there. So hopefully we'll get some vets in there. Otherwise, if no questions, that's all I have for you guys.
No other
I
questions?
do have one question.
Okay, go ahead, Tim.
Is Dawn still on track to retire this fall? What's an update on
As far as I know, this fall.
this fall?
Yeah, her and I had a discussion about coming back to the office full-time again. That's my expectation. Our office, I don't think, should operate as a remote unit. I think we need to be there in person for everybody. And with as much as I'm in and out of the office during the normal operations with events and everything else that I'm in, I need someone in the office. And she agrees. So she's transitioning back as well as she can to full-time in the office. And if it doesn't work out, she'll make a decision then what to do. But she is still, outside of all that, shooting for the end of the year.
So it should be about 6 months yet she has then.
As long as everything works out. Yep. And then we'll have to look to hire someone.
Okay, anything else for Steve? Okay, thank you for your update.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda then is discussion action on corporate counsel office securing additional help.
Yeah, last month I had mentioned this during my update, and then I think it was George had asked that I come back this month with a little bit more information. I think you guys know that I had put in my budget for this year a part-time legal assistant, and that was Lisa, who also works 3 days a week in the human resources. That her position went full-time, so she is now full-time in HR, and it's back to myself and my paralegal, Brittany. It was very helpful having that other part-time staff person there, but in hindsight, looking back at it now, really what would help me is some kind of assistance with from another attorney and with some of the court stuff. Not necessarily advising the departments and the board and that, but with some of the court stuff. So I just wanted to give you guys some numbers and just kind of give you an idea and I guess kind of get your blessing, so to speak, if that's the way this might go forward. The reason I'm requesting this is with the amount of work that comes in, I'm struggling to keep up with everything and responding to everybody in a timely manner. Quite frankly, this morning, in the couple hours I've been here, I've already gotten 7 requests for information that I got to work on, and that's in addition to what I already have on my list of to-do items as well. So they come in fast and furious. With Lisa not being in our office anymore, I have $13,570 that would be in my payroll budget that is not going to be utilized to the end of the year unless I were to replace her, obviously. I already have a line item budget of $1,700 for a contract attorney for when I'm not available, if I'm on vacation or something has come up where someone needs to cover for me. So my suggestion or proposal, I guess, is to utilize those funds to have an attorney assist with, and I haven't worked out all the details, but my initial thoughts are like the mental health cases and the guardianship protective placement cases. Those could be the easier ones to transition. I would still do child support and I would still do the termination of parental rights as well as advising all the county board. We have contract negotiations coming up here shortly with the sheriff's office. And if you recall too, about a year or so ago, we agreed that we were going to utilize outside counsel a little bit less, and so I would do more of the employment law stuff that's related to the county. So a number of factors that kind of play into it. So my suggestion or proposal would be is I use that money, which is again about about $15,000 to have that assistance from an attorney on just those types of cases. See how it goes. Certainly, I wouldn't go over that amount. I wouldn't expect it to be that much, but just see how it goes, and then at the end of the year can kind of reassess and go from there, type of a thing. So. I have spoken to an attorney, I just reached out to see if the particular person was interested, and she is. Very, very, very reasonable rate per hour. It is an attorney outside of Trempealeau County, and that is intentional, because there was some concern that using an attorney or law firm within the county would take away some court-appointed and guardian ad litem attorneys that the courts use regularly, and so that was a big concern from them, that be careful who we utilize. So those are just kind of where things are at. Questions, comments, concerns?
So you right now would plan on just calling that person when you need them, not having them come in, say, 1 day a week or anything like that? As needed, or?
Basically, what I would do is this is just my thought, and again, it would have to work out some of the details of it, but my thought was that any new mental health commitments or any new guardianship cases, this particular individual would handle those. Because then I wouldn't, I don't want this to sound bad, but then I wouldn't, because those come in randomly, could have 3 in a day, could have 3 in a week, 3 in a month, whatever the case is. So then that person would handle those cases. That would free up some of my time. Because, when those come in, they're very time sensitive. And so I basically have to drop everything and make sure they're handled properly, which I'm fine with. But then that person would handle those types of cases, my initial thoughts.
Okay.
So.
You have a case coming up, work for that case coming up? County Healthcare Center?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Between the healthcare center and the, would he work for that particular?
I don't know that we would. I don't want to get too much into detail, but there's no insurance coverage, so we're going to have to hire an attorney for that. I don't know that this particular person would necessarily do that.
Okay.
So.
Chuck, I have a question.
Go ahead, Tim.
I know, Rick, when you brought this up a month or so ago, and at that point you mentioned that you anticipated there might be some difficulty finding someone to do this, and as you outlined the job duties, you're going to be asking somebody else now to drop everything and do this work.
Yes.
I guess we have to rely on your judgment here. You think you found somebody who will drop everything that she's doing and pick up that divorce case or whatever it is that you're...
Yep, it would be, so there'd be mental health commitments and the
Mental health.
guardianship cases. And I did have a conversation with her. Her name is Carrie Sullivan Flock. She was Corp Counsel in Monroe County for about 25 years. So she's very familiar with the processes. And I told her what my thoughts were in regards to the types of cases, so she knows what would be expected, and she was willing and able to. She actually does that for a couple other counties as well, for fill-in or assistance when they have too much going on as well. So this would, I think, be potentially the third county, but she said she was willing and able to do it.
Basically, she retired then?
She isn't retired. She does have a small practice in Monroe County where she does primarily guardian ad litem work, but then she does contract with various counties for fill-in and assistance, yes.
Good.
This is one of those situations where you have to find the right person to fill this particular niche, where it's not a full-time job. It's really, as long as you're happy with the arrangement.
Yeah, very much so, very much so.
So you will not be asking for any more funds or anything? This would just be, you want approval from us that it's okay for you to go ahead and use your funds in that method?
Correct, yep, nope, I would not be using or asking for any more funds, and if for some unforeseen reason, and I don't expect it, I get to that 15,000, I wouldn't go beyond that for this year, but I wouldn't expect I would quite frankly, get even near that, so.
Okay.
The other piece of it too is that I've been here now for 4 years, and in the 4 years up until recently, I haven't had to do any appeals cases for the county. In the last year, 14 months, I've done 3, and I know there's another one on the horizon, and those are very, very time-consuming cases, and so that's another aspect. And I'll continue to do those, but that's another aspect of thing where that takes up a lot of time too, so.
Okay. Could we
Move
have
for
a
the
motion?
approval.
Okay, move for approval.
Second.
We have a second. Is there any further discussion or questions for Rick? Okay, if not, all those in favor of allowing Rick to secure the assistance he needs signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign? Okay,
Great, thank you.
quarterly update, okay. Paul, you're on the agenda next again.
Okay, oops. Don't have a lot to report, but this last week, Jackson County and Trempealeau County hosted the Wisconsin County Clerks Conference between our two counties, and it went very well. We had really good entertainment, and we had an education part, so I wanted to tell everybody about that we're not just always party people. You can tell, right? The audit, the field work for the audit is done. The Baker Tilly was here 2 full weeks. They said they were going to do it virtual, but they came. And some days they had as many as 5 people here. So they, I guess, have been released a little more too, because a lot of theirs was supposed to be virtual. The office is running well. Nothing other than that. I guess those are my 3 big things, were the audit, the conference, and
Census is still on the back
Yeah,
burner?
that was my.
that's definitely on the back burner yet. We aren't going to get the numbers until September now. There was I think John was in
Yeah.
on that census thing. I didn't get into it.
I don't know how it finally come out, but
Yeah, it's,
most of them are against,
yeah,
just
we,
keep the districts the same
the
until.
counties were supposed to be done with our part July 1st, which now we are in violation of the statutes, but if the U.S. Census doesn't give us numbers to work with, there's nothing we can do. So, and they said it's not going to be here till September.
So what would be the earliest possible time we would have any kind of redistricting action, anything? I mean, that's a huge
I would-
process.
Oh, yeah, because it takes 3 60-day periods, okay? And, well, if we don't start till September, the first 60 days won't be done till November, and then the next 60 days will be February, and the next would be
Yeah, so-
April. I gotta always count, something like that.
That's the
And
most optimistic?
That's the most
earliest?
optimistic, right.
Okay.
They wanted to get everything to us in time because for county board elections, it has to be done by December 1st. There's no way it's going to happen. So they've told people that just plan on using the same districts lines as now. So if you guys are thinking about changing the number of people on the board or anything, it won't happen until 2 years from now, election.
2 years before we can change. Interesting.
So we can't figure out why it's taking the feds so long, but it just is.
Okay, any other
It-
questions? Go
You
ahead.
mentioned number on the board. If we're gonna do that, we should know before we even start doing the redistricting.
Before you even start redistricting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Because
don't
you're
know.
saying 2 years would be,
But be
Not
when it
this
goes
election.
effective.
you'd be lucky to get in by the next election to change, right?
Well, we should have.
Well,
it up-
you'd have it in time for that one, but I
We'll have it
mean,
in time for next.
you'd have to decide,
We'll have it in
by
time for November
September.
election next year, I would hope. You know.
Right.
November election redistricting should be done for
Oh,
congressional and stuff like that, but
because they have to be done in time for taking papers out December 1st. Well, it won't happen this time around. So.
How time flies.
yeah.
Okay, anything else for us, Paul, then? Any other questions?
No
for
questions.
Paul, as far as the county clerk update? Okay, if not, then our first regular land records update.
I had a PowerPoint, but I hear that it doesn't show up very well up there.
Thank you, Ann.
thank you.
So you wouldn't kill the tree instead.
I know.
Did I mess up enough with
I see.
At least we can read these.
Thank you.
that's on the internet?
Okay.
Do I have the wrong one in front of me? I maybe got the wrong one. Is it amended?
Hello, everyone. I thought I would just give you an overview of the department, since maybe none of you even know what land records is. And I know I used to be here, it's been 5 years since I came here, but I don't remember any faces, so I'll just give you an overview. So the history of the Trempealeau County land records. In 1989, Wisconsin established a Wisconsin Land Information Program. And that authorized county land information plans and established local and state funding for land records modernization. I hate that word. In June 18th, 1990, Trempealeau County by resolution established a land information office. And in 1992, they established a land records committee. In 1993, the first plan was adopted by resolution. In 1994, a resolution was adopted so the first land information coordinator be hired. In 1997, a resolution passed establishing the land records modernization coordinator as a full-time position. In February 19th, 2001, by resolution, the county board named the land records modernization coordinator position as the land information officer. So every county in the state has a land information officer. In 2011 is when I became the land records coordinator. And then in 2015 is when when the land records department merged with land management, and I became the supervisor of the real property lister, and then we had a technician hired under me. And so now, 2021, I'm here in exec finance. So the next page shows the overview of the county land information system. So it's not just my department. It's a group of departments working together. And this diagram really highlights the importance of the land records department and shows how it's the data hub for other departments and municipalities, state agencies. And the next page, another part of the land records department is the Land Information Council.
Ann, can we stop for a minute?
Yeah.
And I have to go back to this. I was
Yeah.
trying to formulate the question. When dispatch locates something out, we had, okay, when dispatch tries to locate someone for emergency service, do they mostly rely on the fire numbers? Or
They
something?
rely on, well, they have a new system now, and I'm not as familiar with that one as I was the old one. They rely on GPS, or your coordinates, your XY coordinates, your fire number. In every section of the road, I have addresses, an address range assigned to it. So if they can't find it one way by your fire number, they know at least the stretch of road they could find it. And if you have a cell phone and it works, it'll locate you that way. But a landline takes your telephone number, connects it to an address, and maps it that way.
Chuck, isn't that what, I know that Chuck and I are both on property committee, and they've been asking for, or no, law enforcement, I'm gonna get these committees mixed up, but for a more reliable or faster method of locating people, but I think it uses coordinates. It works like, oh, there's a guy that would know. So it does not use fire. No, fire numbers, there could be, you could go along the road and there's, depending on where the driveways come out, there could be one, every 50 yards there's a fire number. I mean, it's not especially helpful. Tim, can you clarify that for me?
Yeah, in 2019, for the 2020 budget, this committee and the property committee approved funding the map interface for Pro Phoenix, and then all the upgrades to Pro Phoenix that would allow that to happen. So then Ann will be able to create a replica of her map layers and whatnot and everything else that they would need. And then dispatchers will have that map in front of them, and it'll integrate into their system so that when a phone call comes in, it includes the locate information, but then they'll have an accurate map that appears in front of them that will display it right away, and then they'll be able to see if the GPS location of deputies or officers or people nearby. So it would be a way to find things quicker, yes.
You're using the future tense. It's not a reality yet.
You recently approved carrying that over because we couldn't get it done in 2020, and we're doing it in 2021, and Renee hopes to have that done by the end of August. And then and will be working on creating the replica and dumping the data. And as they make new requests, like, we need to see where the snowmobile trails are, then well, where do we get the data? And then she would plug that in for them. And we'll have a way to keep that internally instead of depending on exterior map data to try and figure out where stuff is.
You know, so that instead of using Google Earth or something like
Google or worse. Right now, they're using something that I've never heard of before. Here You Are or something. It's garbage.
Yeah.
that. All right, thank you, that helped. Sometimes,
this-
the left hand doesn't know what the right hand, we're
Would-
doing stuff, we don't know what the other committees, I
Yeah,
don't-
would this map be electronic, so it's constantly changing as changes are made?
Yes.
Okay,
It-
rather than a printed copy, which by the time it's printed is probably inaccurate
They,
already? so-
they currently have an electronic map that's not integrated with their CAD, so it doesn't automatically pull information. It's through a company called Geocom, and then they also have the mock map from the state. So they have multiple maps that they're having to deal with,
Okay.
and we'd really like one that gives them access to everything they need.
Okay.
Everything from who owns that property, so we can get a phone number to call for an alarm going off, to what are the boundary lines for the districts, for who we have to refer them to or something. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I was talking about the Land Information Council. That's required by the state that we meet at least twice a year. And it consists of the Land Information Officer, the Register of Deeds, the Treasurer, the Real Property Lister, a member of the County Board, currently George is on it. Another representative of the Land Information Office, if you have another representative. A Realtor, Public Safety or Emergency Communications, the County Surveyor, and other members of the board or public that the board designates. At these meetings, we discuss the land information plan. We discuss projects. I look for ways that I can help them with GIS and make their jobs easier. Any questions on that? I should ask after each. And I kind of wanted to explain what a GIS is and what the Trempealeau County Land Records Department is responsible for. So we design, develop, and manage the county's geographic information system, which is what I call a GIS. A GIS is a smart map. It combines geographical data and information related to that. So, anything with a location can be put into a smart map. I call them smart maps. Just recently, I created a collection application for the Highway Department because they wanted to map their culverts in the county, and they wanted information attached. They wanted the size, the age, the material, the condition, and they wanted to use it for inventory and for future maintenance. So it's just one example of a smart map.
Oh, don't turn the page in.
Okay, I'm
have-
sorry, I keep forgetting.
I know, I have a question. A few years ago, when Pat Malone was still very active here, she and I was also instrumental in trying to create a map of well testing. Where is that at? Is that completely, it was dropped, or where is that at right now?
Nope. So over COVID, my technician, we took all the historic well tests that we found on paper, and we found them in just about every office in the courthouse. There's some in land management, there's some in health, there's some, Pat had some, and he put all those in.
So what do
They have
we have
been
right
entered.
now? What do we have?
Hold on.
I mean,
It's later in the, we have mapped all historic and current well tests. So right now, the process is if you're getting your well tested now, that information gets sent to me and I add it to our database.
What is the basic information contained in each of those tests?
Well, at the time, it was mostly for nitrates.
Nitrate,
So we have nitrates, and if people, well, it depends on what people test. Some people just test nitrates, so that's all their well test would show, and it'll have the level. So I wish I had a computer I could show you. And then if people test for other things, we keep track of that too.
We were especially interested in that area around high crush and testing for fluctuations in the water table.
Yeah.
Water level, water quality fluctuations, because of all the property owners who had trouble. Of course, high crush has been shut down for 2 years now or whatever, so.
And I at
The
the
data
time.
is still there, though.
Yes, yes, it's not going anywhere, and it's continued to be maintained. I get about 3 a month, which isn't a lot, but it's something. And it's good to have that information from the past going forward to see where the issues really are. But there's other things you want to take into account, you know, what farming practices are happening there, and
A lot of those, Doc, were, the nitrate testing was especially prevalent in the prairie, in the southern part of the county. So there were a lot of tests from that. That was the other area of
Yep.
concern.
yep. Any other questions? Okay, so I'll just go over who we are in the department. I'm Ann, I'm the land records coordinator. Tess is my GIS technician, and Nick is the GIS specialist and real property lister. I've been with the county for 12 years, Nick's been here for 18 years. And Tess just started in land records in May, but she was in land management for 5 years prior. So we're looking forward to having a full land records department again. I'll just go over a few of the things that I am in charge of in the land records department. I'm the project coordinator. I design, develop, and create any GIS, any applications. I'm the database administrator of our land information system. I compile a land information plan every 3 years. I follow state statutes and submit the statewide data in the state's schema every year. I submit municipal and ward data to the state. I assist in the Emergency Operations Center when needed. I know when there's flooding, I was flooding 3 years ago, those bad floods. I was in the Operations Center helping compile data for them. I do the grant application and the grant reporting. I do the yearly budget and billing. I assign addresses and then submit that data to our dispatch, which will be easier in the future. I work with all the county departments to make sure they have the information they need. I do manage the real property lister and the GIS technician, and I provide customer service to residents, businesses, municipalities, and courthouse departments. The GIS technician usually does things, I mean, they're kind of a jack of all trades. One day I'll tell them that, you know, we need to get this done now, but for the most part, I have assigned the projects of rezones. A new application we just got online is the surveyor's portal, and that would be updated almost weekly. And then we have a lot of other online applications, snowmobile trails, ATV routes, scenic drives, bike loops, just about anything you could want to see in the county. They will take over the well points and the well tests, and then they will also be providing customer service to the residents. Any questions? The real property lister GIS specialist, their job is to update the taxpayer information from recorded documents. They prepare the assessor work rolls and assessment rolls. They assist the county treasurer in preparation of tax rolls, tax and personal property bills for municipal clerks, treasurers, with property splits, and the tax lister goes and helps process tax payments in July. They provide information to county personnel, property owners, government officials, state agencies, municipalities, real estate agents, financial institutions, and others regarding tax parcel information and county maps, mapping procedures, and computer use. They also provide customer service. And our property lister serves on the Department of Revenue State and Local Finance Committee. And I know he will be running for president-elect of the Wisconsin Real Property Listers Association. Any questions? Some of the projects we just completed that we're proud of, as I mentioned before, a county surveyor's portal. And this is an online application that surveyors can do their property research from home or from their office instead of coming into the courthouse. Before, they would have to come in and do all that research, and it's all online. All of those, so there was, we added 3,354 maps of survey, and then we attached a PDF of those maps of survey. We added the certified survey maps. We added the points. They cannot access those online. And then we have the corner monuments for them to look at too. And that's an ongoing project. And in 2020, we had a 3-inch ortho image flown. And that's part of our land records plan. It was flown in April 2020. And the resolution map scale is 1 inch equals 50 feet. And if you turn the next page, you can see the difference between the 2017 and the 2020 images. A lot more clarity in those. They do have a lot of junk, but I use that one because you can definitely see the clarity between the junk.
A lot of shadows in that left-hand photo. There's so many shadows you can't see anything. It was flown in at dusk or dawn or something, because the shadows are so long.
You want to see it?
I was just gonna say, is that the same as what's shown
No,
up there?
we're looking at, I think we're looking at something
No,
else.
I don't know what's going on up there.
I don't either. No, but you can look at
No,
it.
that's okay.
Okay.
I'm good, I'm good.
Okay. And then I just wanted to show the numbers of the documents that have been processed over the past
idea
3
what that
years. The tax lister, there's been an increase of 283 documents between 2019 and 2021. I will also say that our tax lister is part-time. He's not a full-time staff. Unless this keeps happening, he may have to become full-time with all the increases. This year's been nuts with real estate sales. A lot of documents going through. And then I just highlighted some of our ongoing daily maintenance projects. Parcels, addressing, 911. I do update our address, our master street address guide in the 911 database provider database. So I log into CenturyTel's database and update that. Road maintenance, boundary, zoning, land use, emergency service zones, snowmobile trails, ball points, well tests, our web mapping. I don't know if you guys have ever had the chance to look at your property on the online. I maintain that website. And then we've created a lot of other applications too.
Wait, stop for a minute. You maintain the website, the big one?
The GIS one.
So you take the splits that Nick puts in and you put them in, or how does that work?
So Nick, we all access the same data. So when Nick puts a split in and I see that,
He puts the number on it and you put it in the.
and
map.
then I update our website with that information.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? And then I'll just go into what we're looking to do in the future.
Who's that? Is that John?
It's a fortune teller.
Okay. Yeah, you look sinister character, holy cow. Look at that.
So our county land information plan is due in December. So I will be getting together with the Land Information Council next week to go over projects that we're going to be doing in the next 3 years. The plan's required by the state so we can get our grants. And it has, well, ours is 90 pages right now. It has to outline our projects for the next 3 years in great detail. And then, like we talked about earlier, redistricting 2021, I'll be helping redraw the supervisory districts, if we ever get the data. We have gone through, last summer, John and Paul and myself went through practice runs, which was interesting. Hopefully we'll have the full time to do, because at a time they were talking about shortening the amount of time that we could pass it on. So hopefully we still have our full amount of time, because I'll be rusty by September.
Have to practice again, probably.
And then the last thing is NG 911. The state of Wisconsin is working towards upgrading our enhanced 911 to next generation 911. And we will be required to submit our data to the state in the way they want it, which is way different than we maintain it already. So we'll be maintaining 2 different 911 databases, one for the state and one for the county. Any questions? And that's it. I do have one question for you, though. I won't be boring you with all this information next time. What updates do you want from me in 3 months?
Things will pop up. I mean, everybody else who's been, you know,
Okay.
like Steve, they're sitting there, things happen.
Yep. Oh, yeah, they happen a
And
lot.
once in a while, you can come here and ask for money. And so we'd like to know what bears on that.
Just keep us informed of changes.
Okay. Easy enough.
Very good report, though.
Yeah, this
Thank
was
you very
good.
much.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you.
Great for me, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, Jeremy?
I'm just here asking for money.
Yeah,
Like
sweet.
normal.
Yeah, I just told you. What did I tell you?
Yeah, but I gave you
That's
forewarning
what he's
at
here
that
for.
property, so you knew what I was coming for. And I'm
Right.
actually not asking for any money, I'm just asking for this committee to transfer some existing money. So, as it sits right now, on line item 51601.701, I have an excess of $15,500 sitting in that one from previous projects that hasn't been spent. Some of it was carryover, some of it was just left over from stuff this year.
Okay.
And
What line item is that? What's the name
it's
of it?
516.
I don't need a number. What is it for? Just general.
For that one it was this, what I'm asking for is a carryover from 2020.
Okay.
So from what it was left over from off of that, I can't tell you off the top of my head, it was just carryover from the previous year.
Okay.
And then the next one that I'm looking for is from line item 51601.702. And that's a carryover from 2020 of $12,600.50. And then a remaining, what was it, $13,000 from the sidewalk project that I had done this year, for a total of $40,763.50 that I would like to get transferred into a new line item that Paul would create, which would be a 50601 whatever the last 3 numbers that Paul would like to designate that as.
13,000 was the old, you didn't use on the sidewalk.
Correct. I had $20,000 budgeted this year, so it's actually 12 something. I had $20,000 budgeted and I spent 7,000. So I'd like those allocated together into a new line item. And what I'd like to spend on that is installing a sidewalk on the southeastern a parking lot on the southeastern portion of this building, which would be currently like outside of John Austin and Paul Severson's windows. This would be One, it will help during the process right now that we can start moving some of the county vehicles over there that are going to be displaced when we close this parking lot. There'll be extra parking. There'll be 2 handicap spots that'll be right near the front door, which will be nice going forward for the next 2 years while that is still our main entrance. And then all the excess can just be for general parking for, guests to the courthouse, employees, anything like that. Once the building process is done and our main new parking lot is built and open, that would be an overflow lot and where all the county vehicles would get parked, the human services, the land management trucks, all that stuff, so that they're out of the way and they're not eating up spots in our main parking lot. The project that I'm looking at doing will be a twofold project. Right now it would be contracting, well, let me get back to the price, sorry. So for total, what I'm asking for is to be allocated is $40,763.50 to cover the expense estimate that I got from the highway department of $23,800 to do the parking lot. The reason, one, obviously I'm asking for more to be transferred is because it was a conservative estimate from the highway department based on time and material. So it could exceed, it could exceed by $100, it could exceed by $1,000, or it may be less than what the actual expense that or estimate they gave me was. But it's much easier now to transfer money that I already have and have a little bit more than to come back to you later trying to transfer more again to cover it if it happens to go over.
Just for the sake of committee, I think you should let them know what the difference was between this bid.
Yeah, and well, just so it's on the record here too, yeah, because they were all there at property when I brought it up before. But this is the estimate I got here from the highway shop. Let's say at $23,000, and the ones that I got from outside of the county from it was a subsidiary of Matthey Construction, was about $134,000 to do the exact same job. And this will be a twofold project where they'd come in now, they'd remove all of the trees, they'd remove all of the lawn, and then they'd come back in and pack it down with a gravel base, and then that'll sit for a while because the construction project that's happening is going to tear up a good section of our front yard, redoing the storm drain system and certain utilities, which will go right through the parking lot area that I'm looking to have built. So it's easier just to leave it as gravel and dirt, which we could use temporarily. When the utility work happens, they can dig it up, then they can pack it back down. And then in the fall, the highway department will come back and put blacktop and paint the lines out. But there's no sense in putting blacktop down now and then having it tore back up a month later. Working with the superintendent across the street, it looks like they're looking at potentially mid to late August that they'd want this utility work done. So I'm hoping to try to get the highway department out here this month to do the prep work, the tree removal, and get everything ready to go. But it's a much needed area that we're going to need. Like I said, we're going to lose all of Park Street. We're going to lose all of the parking lot in 3 to 4 weeks here pretty soon. So it'd be nice to have that overflow, and considering we're only going to have, let's say, 45 to 60 parking spots in the new parking lot, when that one's built, I'd rather not eat 20 of those spots up with county-owned vehicles. If we can put them over off to the side, that leaves more parking for employees and visitors going forward.
So no new money, just a transfer?
No new money, I'm just
transfer 3 funds into this one?
Yeah, it's just funds from 2 existing line items that have existing funds that fall under my department from previous projects that has not been spent, allocating that into one new line item numbered by Paul's department that would state specifically what this one was for. So no new money, just a shifting of existing funds.
So we don't need to know all those numbers. Paul will take care of the
Paul
accounts.
takes, yeah, and I sat down and I did this with Paul. I got the numbers from him, the remaining expenses that were in them. And then I spoke to him this morning, just giving him a heads up that I'm saying that it would be condensed into one new line item that would just say parking lot.
I'll go for the approval to transfer these funds.
Second,
Okay, motion and a second to
and
transfer these.
assume you've got the numbers.
We got to work on the last one, that 13,000 is all I got.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Okay, yep.
Now, they'll take care of the
Two
numbers.
existing funds and you're creating a new, two existing line items and you're creating a new one. You're wiping out the first two.
3 line items that we're going to put over in a new one, right?
Well, it was,
The 13,000 was.
the 13,000 is from 702. It's
Oh, it's
just
part of
what,
that? Okay, then I
it's
know.
what's left from the 20,000 that I had from the sidewalks.
Got it.
There was 12,000 carryover from, okay.
That's what
Okay.
I missed. Yeah,
Any
it is
other-
2, I'm sorry. Tim,
Any
you're
other
right.
questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Question after, the fact, when you get rid of those old line items then, or you end up, they're still sitting?
They'll go, those two, 701 and 702 will go to 0.
Oh, I see something.
And then
Since last
when he
meeting.
comes in with his budget next year,
When you will close it.
he might have new projects,
Yeah, we can
and I'll
put
use
them
those
to-
numbers
Okay.
Okay.
with new names.
You know
Yep.
what?
So if he has over on
Whenever
it,
that happens, whenever you get a
doesn't
date,
necessarily
email-
go back to
email
701
all the boards
or
and
702.
I'm gonna email everybody.
it'll be a new
Because
number.
everybody's schedule's gonna change without. being
Okay,
part of it.
sounds good.
Yeah, I mean. what I'll do is
Okay,
send you a date.
and then to our county board rules.
It won't be like emailing you.
Who's in charge of that? Is
I
that-
think it's Mr. Niemeyer.
Everybody should have, I had emailed it previously, and I think you have a hard copy in front of you as well. What I did is I was going through the rules as meetings, thank you. I didn't turn my microphone on, and it magically turned on. As meetings go on, I take down notes of things that I noticed that might be a good idea to make some changes to the county board rules. So what I've been doing is going through with them, and so what you have in front of you are a number of things. Anything that is highlighted in yellow is new, so it's stuff that wasn't there before. Anything that's highlighted in green, I basically have a question as to, I'm not sure exactly what it's about and why it's in there. I just don't know. And then anything that's struck through, obviously, is something that would be proposed to be removed. Some of the rules, I simply just kind of updated the language so it sounded more modern than maybe back in the day. Other things I added, and most notably under the Rule 1 meetings, about virtual attendance, meeting etiquette, and emergency meetings. That's probably the most notable that I added to it. But anyway, these were just some suggestions for this committee to think about and digest, and you can say yay or nay or throw them all out or whatever you want to do, but these are just some suggestions that, as time has gone on, I just thought might make some sense. So. And if you hadn't had a chance to see the email version that's sent to you, this might be the first time you're seeing it, and it certainly can be put on for another meeting. I at least just wanted to get them in front of this committee to start some discussion.
It probably would be best if we had some time at home to sit down and
I think
digest
that's
this a
good idea.
little
I
bit.
make a motion that we just postpone this to the next meeting.
You can just put it on the next agenda, yeah, because I think it's a standing item, if I remember correctly.
I actually pulled it up yesterday and I was pretty nervous. I said,
Oh,
that's about as far as it went.
sure.
It's nice to see the new material
Sure.
highlighted.
And just a couple of things, that remote virtual meeting attendance, that number 3, I mean, I just arbitrarily picked that number. I mean, it can be whatever you want. I just made an assumption that, for the most part, everybody would want to have people here in person if at all possible, but leave that as an option. Again, that was just a suggestion. One thing as you're going through as well, that number 6 under Rule 1, our ordinance talks about the county board chair can declare an emergency and then call a special meeting. It was a little bit unclear as to, what might constitute a declared emergency, so that might be something we just want to clean up a little bit as well, too. So just a suggestion there.
Mr. Chairman? Chuck?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I asked, as soon as I saw this on the agenda, I emailed Rick, so I had these last Thursday, or Wednesday, and I have had time to look them over. And I guess this would be the place for general comment. Most of the comments, my comments would be, as Rick said, most of the changes, even though it looks like a lot of changes, most of them involve either clarifications or diction questions. Rick has indeed made the whole thing sound more modern. I don't know when this was written. Sure. But it does sound antiquated. The only substantive, I didn't see too many really strong substantive changes, and I've been trying to keep up with Rick one of them was that requirement about attendance and virtual attendance. Which rule was that? That one might be worth some discussion. Which rule was that?
That's Rule 1.
Rule 1.
Rule
Yeah,
1,
I went
4.
right past
Rule
it.
1, 4.
1-4. Okay, so as Rick said, that three reading is arbitrary. And yeah, I'm in favor of having people sitting here. I mean, in the past, if you weren't here in the chair, you didn't vote. So, I mean, the whole idea of virtual, being sitting home and attending the meeting and collecting your dollars, and it rubs me wrong. So, I think 3 is pretty generous. So, but there may be some discussion from other board members about that. So I can see where that might be a problem. I wouldn't say a problem, but where it might be a source of controversy. I don't know why on earth we need to have any virtual attendance at board or committee meetings. I think people should be here. The other one I wanted to bring up, which is the one about cell phone use.
I think that's number 5, meeting etiquette, right under that same one you just referred to.
Is it that close? Wait a minute.
Yeah, on 5D, I believe.
Okay, 5D, right. Be sure cell phone are turned off or silent during any meeting. I would like specific language, and again, I'll bring this up for discussion, specific language that prohibits texting during meetings. I really find this irritating, not just irritating, but really a violation of what we're doing. So if you're sitting there and texting, you are essentially bringing in another person to the meeting. You've got a person at the meeting who only you know about, who only you are communicating with, who is adding information, who is influencing the outcome. And you're the only the person sitting here texting, are the only person in charge. You're the person who knows that. So I would like to see language that specifically prohibits texting during meetings, certainly during closed sessions, but even regular board meetings. You got some board members who can do this, like the kids in class. You can sit here. You got some kids like that, Chuck?
Exactly.
You can sit here and looking around, and they got their hands under the desk, and they're just texting away, man. They're just or hooded sweatshirt, sitting here like this. So, okay, so I'd like language that specifically prohibits texting during committee meetings or board meetings.
We got that basket up there.
I would agree with that, too.
Just like the kids drop their cell phones in the basket.
I got a
as you
question
come
on
in.
your number 4 again. Is that just board meetings, or you're talking about all meetings, committee meetings, everything? The 3?
Trying to remember what the section heading is all about.
It's
That
not
was the-
specific.
It's the
number
section-
four,
the
virtual
section-
That's just, is
Sorry.
that just county board meetings or all meetings?
Well, technically, these are
committee.
county board rules, so it would be applicable to any county board member. The heading is meetings, so it could apply to any meetings, but we can clarify if you want all of these rules to be applicable to committee meetings as well.
Yeah, I would like to have that added in there. So-
Okay.
What do you want to add?
Well, so they don't just think it's just a county board meeting that you
Oh,
can't.
so it'd be full board meetings and committee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it was a modification we needed. It was necessary during COVID, but I don't see any reason to persist with that modification.
Would you want to add anything to it that sometimes we may need some information that they could text with approval?
Maybe it would be with the committee approval? with
Yes,
the
or
board
something like
approval?
that, because there are times, sometimes we do ask for information and someone needs to get it, and
We often rely on Paul or the secretary to do that, but. For county board. For county board, not, right, Paul isn't at every committee meeting.
Back to your number 6, too, where you would like to clarify what this means on number 6, there's special emergency meetings called. Do you have any specifics of what kind of language could go in there? It sounds like you might have some ideas there, Tim.
I don't, actually. I looked at that, and so how would we define an emergency meeting? I mean, I guess the word itself, it comes down to, John calls or Chuck's the chair, Chuck calls an emergency meeting, and you just have to justify the situation depending on the context at the time. I don't know how else you're gonna define
but I guess it
emergency.
doesn't have to be emergency, it's a special, it just could be a special meeting. Because we've
Right.
got some property committee coming up that are
Correct.
special. They're not emergency.
Correct. My suggestion would be is our ordinance 2.03 talks about emergency special meetings of the county board. my suggestion would be is eliminate emergency and just do special
Special
meetings.
meetings.
Because the statute already provides for special meetings, and then I
Right.
reference that in there. So I think a special meeting, I mean, it could be an emergency, but it doesn't have to be. So I think, to me, I think just a special meeting, I think, would be appropriate, and then have the different methods of calling a special meeting.
So if we simply struck out emergencies, the slash emergency part, if we struck that out, we're all within, we are operating within the structure of the existing rules.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
We would need to change our ordinance, which would be simple enough to eliminate that declared emergency language, but just make it as a special meeting, just like the board rules.
I like it. I like it.
Are we pretty much in agreement that we're not probably gonna act on this today, that we're going through and picking out some items that we may wanna look at in a little bit more detail?
Actually, don't really take effect until
We have
November
the whole-
meeting anyway, right?
Right, we have the whole rest of the
We
year.
have until the end of the year to adopt them, and then they take effect at the next election, which is April of '22.
Correct.
But I'm just saying, we're not gonna act on these today here.
Correct.
Well, those are actually the only two that, and I did review every one of these, and those are the only two that I thought might elicit some controversy, it might be problematic, and I think all the rest are largely bookkeeping or word choices, questions of word choice, even though it does look like a lot.
I will, I think I'll add some generic language at the very beginning, just saying that these rules are intended to apply to both committee and board meetings, just as a catch-all.
Rick, on Rule 27 about reports, you added that whole paragraph. What did you have in mind there?
He's at 22?
27.
27.
Or it may be a new 27.
Let's see.
I know what that's.
There's a whole paragraph there. It's on page 13.
I'm gonna call it in the olden days. Every department was supposed to present to county board their annual report,
Oh.
and that's faded.
Is it?
I think there's only about, well, I know land management still does it. Does anybody else?
I'm not sure on that. Yeah, 26 and 27, I had those in green because I didn't know where those came from or what the purpose of those were.
And 26 was that we used to have to bring all the, these are old,
Okay.
We used to have to bring all the bills to county board before we could pay them, but we've got an audit committee.
We could
That takes care of
eliminate
that.
Rule 26. Or
I
you don't want to do that.
Yeah, I guess you could.
Well, and even number 24, it's a duplicate of Rule 17, so that's why that one's in green. And yeah, those are just, that's why they were in green, because I didn't know what their purposes were.
Oh, and highway gives a report, those two. They give I think you got a report from highway last month, and probably the month before was land management. But I don't think anybody else does a annual report anymore.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions or things they'd like to highlight? We'll take this home with us and take a look at it. We'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting then.
Rick, you get our blessing, then it'll go to the whole county board, is that?
Yep, once
Yeah.
you guys approve the version, then it'll go to the full board for consideration, correct?
Okay. Anything else on the packet about county board rules?
Did you mail this one out? You know?
I did not. Mm-mm.
You have one, this is gonna be for next time too.
Okay, if no one has any questions about the county board rules, moving on to number 9, CARES, FEMA, and ARPA funds update.
I can't remember, did I announce last meeting that we got our money?
Okay,
Half
thank
of it.
you.
We got half of our ARPA money came. I don't remember if I did that last meeting. No, because we just got
Well,
it.
we didn't have
But we got, $2.8 million of the 5.7 that we're got. So we've already got half of the money in our pot. And Lori hurried and put it into the investment pool, so it's making money for us right now, too. Not a
very
lot,
much.
probably a
Not a lot.
0.25%, 0.4% at the very most.
One thing, when George called me yesterday and told me he wasn't gonna be at the meeting, and he saw this on the agenda, his recommendation, he would like to have a committee set up to see how we're gonna spend this money and not just spend it haphazardly. Those were his words to me. So he would have brought that up if he'd have been here. So he wants some discussion as to how are we gonna spend these millions of dollars.
Well, back when we got the CapEx money anyway, a committee was set up. It was county board members, department heads, and local citizens. And they did a kind of an application thing. I don't know if you want to go that far. I know discussion here before was that the exec finance committee was going to take care of it.
Okay.
But
I think that's the way it should go.
But I know a lot of departments have already figured they're going to get part of it.
That's it. How are they gonna be divided up? As soon
Right.
as there's money there, everybody's got a place to spend it.
Oh, that's true. Right, Tim? All of us do.
I'm making no comment on that. I did have a question, Chair.
Go ahead.
The ARPA information about the money's delivered, but how you can spend it seems to be evolving. And I'm wondering, where are we getting guidance, and should we be seeking out counsel on how we can spend it? 'Cause
There have been, can I answer? I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go
There
ahead.
have been some webinars
Right.
and that about how, but
Actually,
nothing
there's
is
probably
concrete yet.
Another one going on right now.
The big one was, it should be used for lost revenues. Well, I just told you about our sales tax coming in bumper crop, both the last 2 years. And you can go back to 2018 for lost revenues. And I've done some of that research, and I can't find that we lost any revenues. So,
But you still, even if you didn't, you still get that you're still gonna get that 4-point-some% or whatever it was.
oh,
And you can-
to cover
So
what
it's
could
very
have been
minimal,
lost
yeah.
revenues, but, yeah.
Basically, so it's still gonna amount to a portion of this, a good portion of this money can be used literally for just about anything. And the rest is basically for,
Now, even though some departments didn't lose revenue, they had added expenses because of COVID.
Right, and a lot of those things we've turned into FEMA
Oh, okay.
and,
yeah, no, we don't know if we're gonna,
and CARES,
if we get it, we don't know whether we get it or not, but it's kind of up in the air yet. But we have up to 4 years to spend this, up to, yeah.
So as these rules become more specific, we'd probably be better off waiting for some of the guidelines as
Yeah.
to what
That's
can
true.
and cannot be done.
Am I allowed to follow up?
Go ahead.
One of the questions I had was, who is directing the process for determining what the money was spent on? Is it, since it's ARPA, is it federal? Or is it going, like some of the CARES grants, it's being monitored by the state? Is it strictly going to be following federal guidelines and responding to the feds for answers as to how we spend it?
I would say the feds,
Right.
because the money came straight from the feds.
Right.
Local governments, like the towns and cities, they've got their money also, but theirs had to go through the state of Wisconsin. So I think the state of Wisconsin will be watching them, but ours came straight from the feds. So I'm thinking it's the feds for us.
Which means we'll have to take great care and caution in how we do everything, because they're
Oh, yes.
meticulous.
Definitely gonna be monitored,
Yes.
so you don't just blow it on anything.
Going backwards on the CARES money that we got, we already got notification from the feds, because that was federal money also, an audit, and we had to send a whole bunch of information, what was submitted to CARES and all that already. So we're already being audited on CARES. The next step is FEMA. We got a big questionnaire back, and I think I talked to you a little bit about this last month. I'm not positive, because it seems like it just keeps evolving, but FEMA came back with a oodle number of questions on some of the things that we submitted to them. One being the remodel in the land management department to make all the individual offices. And maybe I told you this already, but they were down to the point where they needed the latitude and longitude of where that remodel was. Good thing Ann found it. She got it right down to, and it was down to 5 decimal places, the latitude and longitude. And we sent that in, and then there was all these other questions, and with integrity, we got all of those questions answered and submitted. Now we're still waiting to see if we hear. Because now I've started already getting the second submission of expenses that we have to go into FEMA, so that we haven't even started submitting. But
So probably if we just wait on this a little bit,
Yep.
no rush with it.
And the other
Some
thing
more
is,
deadlines.
I still don't know the deadline or the cutoff of the FEMA spending. We had our first one, which was back in golly, what was that? December? Or it was the last part of last year, I think was what it was. But now we've gotten all these other expenses.
I think
that,
the cutoff was September or something, wasn't it?
Well, see, I thought it was July. That's why, and I thought, well, now it's July. So I think it was July, the more I think about it. The cutoff was July last year.
Yeah, but now this next one's for September, I think.
So, and now, of course, Sally turned in her claims for the last 6 months, and a whole bunch of those are, as chair of the COVID committee, I'll have to find out if those are going to be eligible, because I don't know when that next cutoff line was. It's probably when FEMA says we don't have any more money, we can't give you any more, so that's it, type thing is. And if it's something like that, then I'm hoping that these ARPA monies would be available to cover some of those FEMA non-eligible costs. Because in most cases, when we did something, we took the money out of the general fund. And that's who we have to pay back when we get the money.
Chuck?
Yes, go ahead, Tim.
I also, gonna get in my 2 cents here. I know George has been pressing this committee, and some of us individually, for a few months now to make some decisions about this ARPA money and so forth. But I have to agree with you, with Chuck, with Paul, it would be premature. There are, as far from what I see, there are any kind of a committee set up would be creating a committee to decide how to spend the money would be premature, because we don't know what all the restrictions are. It's really kind of silly at this point.
We need to know the rules, yeah.
We need to know the rules, and I think this is going to be a lot stricter. I know during the CapEx 2020, there were rules, and then it's, as that whole process evolved, well, it turned out counties and townships and municipalities were violating the rules. Nobody seemed to care. The people giving away the CapEx 2020 people didn't seem to care. And so money was being spent for things that were not okayed by the power company. But I don't think that's going to work this way this time. So I think we need to know what the rules are before we create any committee or anybody to figure out how to spend the money. And all this pressure to figure out what are we going to do with it is just back off.
We've got time to spend it.
We
It's
have
not
plenty of
that-
time. We don't know how. I know there are all kinds of restrictions on this money, and they seem to be changing all the time. So let's just wait.
Okay, is that pretty much a consensus of everyone? No action required then?
Nope. It was
Okay.
just an update.
Then our last item then is to set our next meeting date,
August 2nd,
August 2nd. Is that the first
Monday.
first Monday?
Is that gonna be 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock?
What did you say?
What did he
Is it
just
gonna
say?
be 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock?
Or 8 o'clock, it used to be 8.
That was 8 during the school year.
Yeah, that was 8 for
We
me.
went 10 today
was
because
10
there
because
was
of conflict.
conflict, right?
Yeah, somebody had another committee meeting.
PTED, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll vote for 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock? Okay, so we'll go Monday, August 2nd at 9 o'clock?
Okay.
Okay. Anybody have anything else then? Okay, if not, I'll adjourn this meeting at 11:20.